All right, guys, today I'm going to answer a question that I'm being asked on Twitter all the time, and that question is, how does DC's current Rebirth timeline work out? How does DC Metal and Doomsday Clock all go together? Are they happening at the same time? Are they happening separate from each other? Is Doomsday Clock before DC Metal? Is DC Metal afterwards? Where does all of this fit in? So in order to explain that, I need to explain how DC is running their events right now. Now, when Marvel does an event, let's say you're following Spider-Man. Spider-Man fights against Hydra. That is involved in Secret Empire. The business plan behind this is that you'll look at the Spider-Man storyline with the Hydra agents, and you will then go buy Secret Empire, and then hopefully you'll have more questions and maybe buy an outlying book, like the Secret Warriors or the Inhumans or any of that stuff. They're hoping you'll buy those books so they tie every book into this event until the event is finished. Some people hate it, some people like it. I like it when I'm enjoying the event. I hate it when I'm disliking the event, like Secret Empire. Anyway, DC does things a little bit differently. They don't typically wrap every book into the event because they know that some people just want to buy, say, Red Hood and read what's happening to Red Hood. Or if you're buying The Flash, you don't want to be interrupted because in the middle of the Flash storyline, suddenly he's fighting against a bunch of evil Batmen. No, they know you want to follow your storyline. So what DC typically does, at least they have, I mean, way back in the past they did it Marvel style, but in the recent events, this is what they've done. They'll continue the main storylines and drop hints as to where that storyline should pertain to the current giant event. Sometimes they don't drop the hint, normally they do. Okay, at least they have been in Rebirth up to this point. So here's your example, okay? Flash is in Negative Flash. He's fighting against Eobard Thawne and the new Reverse Flash over there in his storyline. In that storyline, Iris is mad at him and not talking to him. Now, in the Flash DC Metal crossover, Iris is talking to Barry Allen again. That tells you that the Negative Flash storyline is going to happen, and that then the DC Metal storyline is going to happen, okay? That's where it places into the timeline. It's also added to the fact that Scott Snyder, in interviews and tweets, has said that all current character storylines are happening before DC Metal. So then the question comes in, what happens to the storylines that end? That's where my example with Batman comes in. So Batman had a storyline in which him and Zatanna were looking for a device that could give him any information in the world. He was looking for this device so that he could get information on the metal from DC Metal. Now, in that storyline, we have it on the channel, you can watch it, he doesn't get the device. And then he goes off to find answers about the metal. That leads in to DC Metal. So we have Zatanna's storyline, DC Metal. Now, the storyline that happened after that storyline is the Tim Drake storyline. Tim Drake returns and is in Gotham City again. Well, why wouldn't Tim Drake be in the Gotham Resistance? That makes no sense for Tim Drake to be at the epicenter of this entire event and not be involved. That should tell you that the Tim Drake event is taking place after DC Metal, okay? So that's how you can kind of tell a lot of these events. So Zatanna, DC Metal, Tim Drake event. Now, the Tim Drake event is involving Mr. Oz breaking free from his prison, which then leads us to the Action Comics storyline, the Oz Effect. The Oz Effect has Mr. Oz coming back. We find out that who he actually is. Won't spoil it in this video. We got a whole video about that. We find out who Mr. Oz actually is, and Superman discovers the Big Blue Hand and Dr. Manhattan in that storyline, which would then tell you Doomsday Clock has to take place after Action Comics. So using the clues that have been dropped into the DC Rebirth storylines, you can tell where DC Metal takes place. Zatanna, DC Metal, Tim Drake, Oz Effect. Oz Effect is up here, takes place, Doomsday Clock. It also helps that Scott Snyder has currently said that all current character stories, so Negative Flash, Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns fighting against the New Gods, the Detective Comics involving Zatanna, all take place before DC Metal. So that tells you that. And Jeff Johns has come out and said that the rough placement of Doomsday Clock is basically 12 months from now in the storylines. Now you may be wondering, why would they be writing a story that takes place a year in the future? Doomsday Clock is not going to end until November, December of 2018. So why not have that entire story take place at the timeline in which it would end? So that right there tells you Doomsday Clock takes place after DC Metal. But if you want to use the clues and you haven't seen these interviews and stuff like that, this is how you figure it out. So that's pretty much how it works. DC Metal's the big event. That's how DC does their stuff. All of the character-driven storylines typically take place before the big event, and then whenever their new storyline starts, that's taking place after the big event. Okay, and you can use all of your clues in these comic books to figure that out, such as Batman getting the Orb of Knowledge, then Tim Drake being back, but him not popping up in the Gotham Resistance storyline. Another great example is Hal Jordan fought against those giant robots that was fighting the New Gods. Those robots were woken up by the metal, which caused Hal Jordan to go to Earth. He's at Earth. Of course, that's why he's on Earth for DC Metal. Stuff like that. That's how you do it. Now, just so you know, this is comic books, and timelines don't always make sense in general. A lot of times, they just kind of ignore what's going on. A great example of that one, Wonder Woman and the event involving... actually, no, I'm wrong about Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman just revealed where it takes place. If you're reading the current Wonder Woman storyline, they just revealed what happens to Baby Darkseid after DC Metal, which means the current storyline in which she's finding her twin brother is taking place after DC Metal. But an example of a story that is basically ignoring the event is Red Hood. Everyone knows that I'm a huge fan of Red Hood. Red Hood and the Outlaws is just doing its own thing and ignoring the event. If you really want to nitpick, Red Hood and the Outlaws are technically over with Suicide Squad right now, so they're not in Gotham, so they're not a part of the event. You can do that if you want, but all of the core titles like Flash and Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, they will typically drop a hint as to where they should be pertaining to the main event, and then the main event is happening. Now, yes, you can go ahead and say that by having the character arcs still going, you do get spoilers as to who's going to survive the event, but if you're just reading Flash, do you really want them to take a 6-month break so that you don't get spoiled? Just enjoy your Flash storyline. So that's it. So current story arcs, or the ones that started way back in August, DC Metal. Arcs that are starting up probably about nowish, so like the Tim Drake one, the Oz Effect one, stuff that's happening right nowish, then Doomsday Clock. I hope that helped you guys understand exactly what's going on and how to really pertain and read into DC's events as opposed to Marvel's. Marvel does make it easy by making every book tie into it. You're like, oh, it's all happening during the event. Right. DC makes it a little more convoluted, but what we gain from that is we don't interrupt our storylines, which is one thing that I really enjoy, because if I'm not liking the event like Secret Empire, I really don't want them to interrupt my favorite story. And that's what DC does. If you're not liking DC Metal, you're not affected. So there you go. I hope that helped. If it doesn't help, let me know. The interviews have said that DC Metal is right now after arcs, and that Doomsday Clock is 12 months in the future. So if you don't even trust my nitpicking and theories and going into everything, then just go off the interviews. So hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian. We can talk more about Doomsday Clock, DC Metal, and whatever the hell Marvel's doing right now. What event is happening? No, nothing. There's nothing happening. They said they're not doing an event for 18 months, but in March we're getting another event. Go figure. So anyway, and you can also follow me on Twitch at our eligible monster account. The link will be down below. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Me and the rest of the team are here. We'll talk to you about whatever comic books you want. I hope this helped you guys, and I'll see you next time right here.